Web Marketing That Works, episode 19.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
Hey there, everyone. It's Toby Jenkins from the Web Marketing That Works podcast, and I'm here with my co-host and friend, Adam Franklin. How are you, Ads?
Really good, thanks, TJ.
That's the way. So this is the show for people who love marketing on the web. We're going to take you behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments, and we're going to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we'll confess what's failed and reveal the truth about what really works.
This show is brought to you by our new book called Web Marketing That Works, and it is now out in bookstores around the world and, of course, online too. The show is also brought to you by the 33 free marketing templates that accompany the book. Now, you can get your hands on those at bluewiremedia.com.au/book, and they're totally free. Just register on that page.
Cool. Well, Ads, today then we're ripping into the show, which is going to be part 2 of how to grow your email list. And I think the plan is really to dive into landing page elements.
Absolutely, Tobes. Yeah, landing pages have certainly been the major thing that we've done at Blue Wire to really amplify the growth of our email list. So there's a couple of things, I guess, just to recap the basics from episode 17. A landing page is a purpose-built page on your website where a visitor or a person coming to that page can actually do or perform an activity. In this case, in our case for this podcast, it's to download a piece of content like an ebook or a template or a report by entering in their name and email address, and then in exchange for that, they receive this valuable piece of content. So in episode 17, we quickly covered the fact that you want to remove your main navigation on your landing pages because they're like leaks in a boat. They're distractions that people can leak off the page. So you want to minimize distractions, and you want a very simple form where people can enter their name and email address and have a button that they hit to receive the piece of content. And then today we're going to go into some more advanced techniques.
Cool. So there's sort of 2 components, is my understanding, particularly for the landing pages, and then we'll dig into a few other bits and pieces a bit later on after the landing pages. But there's sort of the psychology component and the design component. So shall we kick off with the psychology?
Absolutely, Tobes. And I do need to pass credit here to Ollie Gardner from Unbounce and his brilliant book called Conversion-Centered Design. We've actually mentioned it in our book, Web Marketing That Works, and it's really a fantastic free ebook that is available on his Unbounce website. I read it and loved it and have implemented a lot of what is said in the book. And basically the psychological components involve 2 parts. Firstly is social proof. Now, you'll know, Tobes, and listeners will know that when you go past a busy restaurant or a busy bar, it's much more appealing to try and go into that restaurant or bar because it seems popular, because there's safety in numbers and there's social proof that other people are going there. And actually, I had lunch up at Bondi Junction today, Tobes, at a place called Halo Thai, and it was packed. It was packed. People out the door, and there was a Japanese restaurant next door with nobody in it. But we still went into Halo Thai because it was more popular, even though there'd be a bigger wait. There was that social proof there to entice us in. So the way that you achieve social proof on your landing page is by having things like your social media share buttons, so your Twitter tweet button, your Facebook like button, your Google plus one button, and LinkedIn share buttons. Because what those buttons signify is that it shows that other people have been to the page before and other people have liked the content enough to share it with their own social networks. So that's one of the first things you can do to provide social proof. The second thing is to actually say on the page how many people have downloaded the product before. For example, a lot of websites will say, join 10,000 people who have also subscribed to this newsletter, or we say for our web strategy planning template, join 10,512 other marketers who have downloaded this tool. Because again, there's safety in numbers, and if it's proven very popular in the past, it gives people confidence when they download it. And the third part is having testimonials on your landing page too. So there's a number of ways you can do that. Firstly is literally just get testimonials from people who've downloaded the product or the template and write them onto your page. I think it's best to include people's photograph and name and company, so that you're giving us a lot of information, because sometimes people are a little bit cynical about testimonials being made up. So the more information you can give, the more trustworthy they are. And secondly, you can install Facebook comments, and so that adds an even higher level of trustworthiness, because people are actually commenting through the Facebook application, and it's linked directly to their name and their Facebook page. So it's, again, a lot more real and therefore a lot more trustworthy.
Yeah, cool. And are there any sort of tools that help with, particularly those social proof elements?
Yeah, there's a really nifty tool that the guys have installed on our website called Jetpack, and it's a WordPress plugin. And what it does is it basically plugs into your WordPress installation, and it then allows you to put up those Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, all those share buttons at the top of your landing page or down the side or wherever you want to place them.
Yeah, cool. Actually, that tool as well is in the 59 web marketing tools, which is we can put in the show notes too.
Absolutely.
For people to grab a hold of. Cool. Any other sort of points in the psychology then, Ads? Yeah,
look, the third component, I should have said there was 3 components, not 2 earlier on, but the third is actually introducing, a try before you buy. Like if you're about to buy some clothing, typically you'll want to try it on, see if it fits, see what it looks like before you actually hand over money in a shop to buy it. And the same goes online. You really want to be able to show people what it is that they're going to be getting before they opt in to download it. So what we like to do on our website is to preview the template or the ebook or the report or what have you on the website. And we do this using a tool called SlideShare, which many listeners will be familiar with. It's free. They do actually have a pro version, which you pay up to $20 a month for, but it's really good, the free version. And what I do is I just simply upload, whether it's a presentation in PowerPoint or a PDF or what have you, up into SlideShare, and then I simply embed that on the landing page so that people can actually flick through all the different pages of the download that they're considering entering their details in to receive. And sometimes people may disagree with this approach and say, well, if you're showing them exactly what they're going to get, then why would they bother actually putting their name and email address into the sign-up form? And, Toes, my philosophy is, well, if that's what they want to do, that's fine. Our job as marketers is to help educate people and to share our knowledge. If people do want to go straight to SlideShare to download it, that's totally fine with me. They can take the templates and run. What I hope people want to do, though, is to actually put their name and email address in, because they know that they'll be able to receive more valuable templates from us. But it's totally up to the person who comes to our site. It doesn't worry me either way.
Yeah, cool. So if I can just summarize that psychology piece then, Ads. So there's the sort of 2 elements broadly: social proof, things like social media and testimonials and that kind of stuff. And then the other thing is that sort of preview idea, which we sort of feel has had a great impact really on our conversion rates, hey? I
think so. I mean, we typically convert at about 6 to 8% of overall website traffic. So what that means is that if 1,000 people come to our website, we will convert 6 to 8% of those. So that's 60 to 80 people for every 1,000 that come to our site.
Into an email address, hey?
Yeah, convert into a subscriber, an opt-in subscriber. And that's high, because typically the overall website conversion rates are about probably 1 to 2%, and 3% is considered high. So converting consistently at 6 to 8%, I think, is primarily due to the fact that we do preview the goods in their entirety. So before people put their details into the form, they've got complete confidence in what they're going to receive, and their expectations are set on that form as well, that they will be receiving our regular Blue Wire News emails also.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, there's sort of that psychology component, and then the second part, I guess, is the detail in terms of the design. So can you take us through that?
Yeah, absolutely, Tobes. So the first component of the design of a landing page is to have lots of white space, lots of breathing room. It should be a calm experience when you're coming to a landing page, and it should be very clear as to it should be very easy for the person coming to the page to do what they're there to do, which is to download that piece of content. So what white space allows you to do is to have enough room to guide people's eyes and to guide them to the part of the page where they need to be either previewing the content and then putting in their details and then clicking the button. It doesn't feel busy. It doesn't feel claustrophobic. It doesn't feel like you're pressured. It's a calming, lots of white space, and it makes that process for the user a lot easier.
Yeah, cool. And then so within that white space, then using directional cues and encapsulation are two sort of concepts that we talk about quite a bit. Do you want to explain those two?
Directional cues are things like arrows, and arrows are the most popular way of doing it. So really literally pointing with an arrow the direction that you want the person's eyes to go. And so we use that. We have one arrow at the top of our form, a very subtle one just pointing down into the form, and we've got another arrow just pointing across the page from left to right, guiding people's eyes over to the form. And you'll notice on our web strategy planning template as well, we've actually got a photo of Jonathan Crossfield, who's a content marketer in Australia that I admire. But his face is actually facing the form, and his eyes are looking over at the form. So that is another directional cue, helping the person visiting the page work out, where their eyes need to go, and it takes them over to the form. The other part you mentioned there, Tobe, was encapsulation, which basically means putting your form in a clearly marked box. So for us, we simply use a blue outline around the box, mainly so that it stands out, so that the form itself stands out from the page. And again, it's very clear for the person visiting the page that that's where the action's taking place, or that's where they can actually download the piece of content that they're there to download.
Cool. All right, which is a nice sort of leading point too in terms of the colour of encapsulating a form, because colour then plays a pretty important part in terms of the buttons as your call to action ultimately. Hey,
absolutely. So the button is what people click to actually enter their details and to complete that conversion process of entering their details in exchange for receiving this valuable piece of premium content. And I would say that the real estate that the button occupies is the most important real estate on the page for three reasons. One, because the color is so important, it needs to stand out from the page. If you can't see the button, then it's very hard to get people to click on it. Secondly, because the words you use on the button are incredibly, incredibly important in terms of helping people convert on that page. And the language that you use on the button is incredibly important too, because it needs to be worded in an active format, because that also has a big impact on conversion rates as well. Now, how about I just dive into a bit more detail on each of those 3 points, Tobe?
Yeah, cool.
All right. So the color, basically the color's got to contrast with the color that you use on the rest of the page. So it doesn't really matter if you use red or green or blue or orange. What matters is that the color that you do choose stands out against the background color that you've used for the rest of the page and the color theme that you've used for the rest of the page. So on our web strategy planning template landing page, the color theme is blue, but our call to action button is orange. So it stands out very obviously against the rest of the page. The second thing that I spoke about is the words that you use on the button. To me, these are the most important 2 words you can use on the page, because it's too easy for people. It's very easy to make mistakes with these words, and there's a couple of really easy tips I want to share so that you can use wording on the button that is going to increase your conversion rate. Now, firstly, let's start with some of the mistakes. it's very common to see words like submit, but submit's a bad word because submit not only sounds like a lot of work, but it also has connotations of submitting a tax return or submitting a uni assignment, all things that we typically associate with being hard work and not much fun. So my advice is to leave the word submit to your teacher and your accountant and use more active, fun-sounding words like download or access. And the other thing to keep in mind as well is the level of commitment that is involved when you use the words. So for example, high levels of commitment can scare people off. So if you're saying invest or buy or words that sound like it's going to take a lot of effort or that you're going to be heavily invested are bad, whereas words like get instant access or low effort words are going to be a lot more powerful and convert a lot better. One technique that I find particularly useful is to follow the very simple process of using a verb then a noun. For example, download template or access the resources, because that way you're wording it in an active form as opposed to a passive form, and that is a very useful way to go about it. The final two things, if you really want to work out how to label the words on your button very well, is to complete this sentence as if you were the person visiting the site. So the sentence is, I want to, and then you've got to fill in the gap, fill in the blank, as if you were that person on the site. So for example, you might say, I want to get a 30-day free trial, or I want to download the template, or I want to access the resources. And so whatever comes after the words I want to becomes the words on your button. So it would be download the template or get a free trial or access the resources. And if you use those words on your button, then you're using language that is in the mind of the person who's coming to your page. And I guess one final pro tip is, and I only discovered this last night when I was reading a very interesting post from Clay Collins from Lead Pages, but simply tweaking one word on a button had a 90% increase in conversion rates. And he changed it. The word he changed was the button did say access your 30-day free trial. It then changed to access my 30-day free trial. So it went from second person to first person.
Wow.
And again, that was huge. And because, again, you're wording it in the way that the person at your page is thinking. They don't want to access your free trial. They want to access they're there, I want to access my free trial. And so a simple word change like that can have a profound impact on the conversion rate of your page. So just to recap, there was quite a bit there, and that's why I'm saying, the button is the most important real estate on the page, because you want to have, one, a color that contrasts against the rest of the page. Two, you want to have active words that are low effort. So not words like submit or invest, because they're high effort and not very fun. Use words like download or get access or what have you. Make it verb noun. So again, you're using an active verb, and then you're describing with the noun what the download is. So download the template or access the resources. Then finish the sentence, I want to. So I want to access my 30-day free trial. And finally, if you can word it in the first person, then that's even more powerful. So I want to access my 30-day free trial. So there's a handful of tips there, Tobes. It does sound
amazing.
like
I hadn't heard that first person one. Well, certainly not an experiment per se. I'd heard of the I want to access my becomes the language that you would use in that trying to finish up that sentence. But to hear it have a 90% increase in conversion is just staggering.
Phenomenal. Hey, it was only last night that I discovered it, and it sort of validated the reason why finishing that sentence, I want to, becomes so powerful, and it isn't doing it in that first person. So I know there'll be a couple of tweaks to some of our landing pages now that we've discovered that.
give it a shot. And mate, any sort of final pro tips then for landing pages?
Sure. Well, I mean, the whole idea of a landing page is to share your knowledge and to provide value to other people. It's also to grow your email list, which is what this podcast is about. One of the best ways to increase your conversion rates and to grow your email list is to make your offer to people when they're in an active frame of mind. And the most active frame of mind, typically when you're online, is when you're searching for something. So when you're Googling something, typically when you've got a challenge or a problem that you want to solve. And so if you can actually optimize your landing pages for keyword phrases that people are typing into Google when they've got a problem, then that's the best time to be, well, that's when you're going to get your best conversion rate, because they're looking for stuff, they're in that frame of mind of, I need to take action, they've got a high propensity to actually take action, and it's very easy then for them to put in their name and email address to get a valuable piece of content. As opposed to, when people are in a passive frame of mind online, typically when they're on social media or reading blog posts, they're in that consumption mode where they're passively reading other content. They're not actually doing as much themselves. So yes, certainly have calls to action on your blog at the end of blog posts. Certainly have the pop-up offers that we spoke about in episode 17. But really, my pro tip is optimize your landing page for Google, because that's when people are in the most active frame of mind.
Can you give an example of that, Ads?
Yeah, sure. So, for example, let's take our editorial calendar template, for example. When, if you're a marketing manager, for us, our buyer persona, one of our buyer personas is Nicola, and we've defined her as a marketing manager working at a corporation dedicated to being number one in their market niche, with an interested CEO and a supportive IT team. And Nicola's challenges include trying to webify her marketing efforts. It includes trying to understand all the different social media platforms and how best they apply to her marketing. And it also involves the idea of creating a publishing schedule and sticking to it. So we kind of know that Nicola faces these types of challenges, and therefore, to help solve these challenges, Nicola is going to turn to Google, and she might be looking for things like an editorial calendar or a content calendar or a content calendar template. And so we optimized our landing page by actually titling our editorial calendar template as such, and using words like content calendar, download, Excel, Google Doc, the year 2014, all these keyword phrases and long tail variations of them on the landing page for the editorial calendar template, because we know that people like Nicola are going to be turning to Google to look for this stuff proactively, as opposed to, and we get a much higher conversion rate through Google. Very often it's over 10%. So 10% of the search traffic that comes to our website from Google converts into a opt-in subscriber, as in they've downloaded a piece of our content, which is much higher than the conversion rates, say, from the calls to action on our blog or from our homepage, which are down at 1 or 2%, because it just highlights that Nicola, when she's at Google, is an active frame of mind, and whereas Nicola, when she comes to just read a blog post, is in a much more passive state and doesn't convert anywhere near as highly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think, that idea, to me, the idea of taking editorial calendar template as the sort of core search term and then extending that by calling it a content calendar, adding the Excel, the .xls as an extension, the Google Doc format, the PDF format, and then the year, like those extensions then mean we capture a whole lot more traffic on that particular page. And that to me is, makes that page hugely more valuable rather than just chasing, just editorial calendar template.
Yeah, exactly. You can aim for it's great if you do rank for editorial calendar template or a what you'd call a short tail keyword, like a 2 to 3 word combination. But unless you're getting lots and lots of unless you've got lots of domain authority, it can be quite challenging. So you're right, it's best to aim for start off aiming for 5, 6 or 7 word keyword phrases, because it's a lot more specific and you've got a lot better chance of ranking for it straight away. And then over time, as you build up the number of backlinks and the signals that you're sending to Google become stronger, then you're much more likely to rank for the shorter tail keywords.
Yeah, cool. In terms of this podcast, what episode do people go to for a bit more detail on SEO?
Episode 5.
Search engine optimization, sorry.
Yep. So a search engine optimization episode is episode 5, where we talk about our journey from being invisible all the way through to being number 1 for highly competitive keyword phrases. And it's probably also worth checking out episode 6, where we have a chat to Glenn Murray, who's the guy that taught us pretty much all we know about SEO through his book, SEO Secrets and SEO Copywriting. That's episode 6 of the podcast. That's well worth a listen as well.
Yeah, cool. Oh, good stuff. So ads as well as landing pages, and obviously that's a really important part of the conversion process. How else can people grow their email lists?
Yeah, so landing pages have had the biggest impact for us. Our database sort of tripled over about 18 months from 3,000 to over 10,000 subscribers currently. And that was mainly because of landing pages, but it is also to do with a number of other factors as well that may not work as quickly, but they still work. And one is, it sounds simple, but write good, regular emails. If the emails are good quality and people open them consistently and they read them and they know, like, and trust you, then you're going to have a lot more success when you ask your readers to do things like forward your email to a friend who might be interested. And if you think about it, and we've done this before, if you actually ask people to do something, if they like you and trust you enough, chances are they will help you out. And if you think about it, if everybody who opened the email, if they just forwarded it on to one person each, and that person decided to sign up for the newsletter, you can achieve quite serious growth through those channels as well. So to recap, write good quality emails, get to know your readers, and ask for their help in growing your database as well, because if they're receiving value, they're going to most likely want to share that value with some of their friends as well. So I hope that makes sense, and it's just one other technique, and that's pretty much what we were doing in the earlier days before we really discovered the power of landing pages.
Cool. Oh, actually, one thing that often people do is they use email capture forms on their social media pages as well to try to encourage social media sign up too. That's another way of extending your email list.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, people with good social media audiences or followings, it's very common these days, or any days really, for them to be trying to nurture people towards an email relationship, particularly when you've got social media platforms like Facebook that have decided to make it incredibly difficult for marketers to communicate with people who have opted in to be their fan. They're making us reach into our pocket every time we want to communicate with them. So that's actually one of the reasons why many marketers are trying to nurture their Facebook fans particularly over to an email relationship where you've got the freedom to then communicate with them whenever you choose and without having to pay Facebook a fee for the privilege. So use social media to drive email subscribers and also ask the people who currently subscribe for referrals as well.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay, well, thanks very much, Ads. That's really interesting insight into that extra detail of landing pages, and we'll put those other podcasts, the other episodes, into the show notes. So then if you're looking for more detail, you can grab them there. As always, the show is brought to you by Web Marketing That Works, the book, and specifically the bonus 33 free templates that go with it. Jump on over to bluewiremedia.com.au/book to grab those templates. In fact, those templates, there's probably a couple there relevant to today's episode. The SEO planning template for sure, the landing page design template. So those two, again, will be in the notes. Because, as always, the intent is to deliver actionable advice. So we welcome your feedback and questions. Thanks very much. And please let us know if you have any. Either email. My email is toby.jenkins@bluewiremedia.com.au, or I'm at Toby_Jenkins on Twitter.
And on email, I am adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au and at Franklin_Adam on Twitter. If you like the show, and we hope that you did, it would be very much appreciated if you could take the time to leave us an honest review and rating on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. Your feedback makes our job easier because we can improve what we do, and it also has a tremendous impact on our visibility on iTunes. So thank you very much for that. We'll try and give a shout out to the listeners that leave us a 5-star review. So thank you, and until next time, we'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks very much, everyone.